Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave with an addition to the Samaritan build that I felt was lacking when I went back over the videos that we have shot thus far about this project. To be clear, there's still work to do on this. I need to blacken it, which I want to do chemically. I hope that works. I need to add some through mechanics to attach the trigger to the hammer. That's maybe the most difficult part of this. And I need to rifle the barrel. That requires a custom machine. I found a YouTube channel of some pretty awesome DIY gunsmithing to do that. But one of the things that I love is a good teardown video. So I'm going to clear my bench and I'm going to pull out all the specialized tools and equipment I have for taking the Samaritan completely apart and then putting it back together. This is the thing I have learned that is so key to building a mechanical device is you got to be ready to take it apart and put it back together again just dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And in this way, all of the pieces of it become more apparent as you go. You start to really understand I personally have started to really understand the mechanism on a much deeper level. And so when I run into little inconsistencies, like, oh, all of a sudden that part's not doing the same thing it used to do, I'm able to figure out why. So this is a very simple and quick one-day build. It is going to be a complete teardown of the Samaritan thus far and a putting it back together. And I'm going to shoot this as a big overhead. I think I may actually shoot this with two cameras. What? Well, I mean, I have this I have this.
Someone is at the front door.
I don't know what Alexa's talking about because there's no one at the front door and she doesn't even have front door access. There's no Ring doorbell over there. I don't know what the hell she's thinking. It's not your problem though. So yeah, I'm going to cover this with a couple of cameras so that I can actually do some commentary while I'm doing it. But one of them is going to be directly above looking down so you really get the whole pleasure of the tear down, the knolling of the completely disassembled object and the reassembly of said object. Let's get started. First things first is that I made some custom tool holders and equipment for the dismantling. That is, one is this, which is my sorting cabinet with labeled holes for every screw, because every single screw in this thing is unique to its location. And then I also made a toolkit that houses all the common tools that I need for this. It's got all the Weha screwdrivers plus some gunsmithing screwdrivers. Yeah, which I didn't even know about. They are really, really cool. A note about gunsmithing screwdrivers. It turns out, and I'd never considered this, that your standard flathead screwdriver with its wedge-shaped point, when it goes into the slot of a slotted screw, that wedge puts torque on the top corner of that slotted screw. And a gunsmithing screwdriver is what you call hollow ground. It's got a concavity from the tip. And that means that this puts torque at the bottom of the slot of a screw. And that means that the gunsmith is able to apply torque to the screw without damaging it. I am now very intimate with this issue. I got to get out tweezers, and I've got a small punch and a very specific Allen. And I also have some lithium grease and some basic grease. So let's get all the tools over here. This is very satisfying to me to have it all lined up. That's some extra parts that I don't necessarily think I need. So yeah, I guess here we go. Okay. The base of the handle comes off. I'm going to also be cleaning a lot of these as I go. That's the butt plate. And that's the handle. These screws don't come out. They just live in there. Pieces of the grip frame also come apart. And yep, I've got a slot for those. These are the grip frame screws. They are absolutely tiny. A sandblaster is something I would love to get in here at some point in the next few months. I have an idea for building one. Hammer pivot, there we go. Another hammer pivot. I have a lot of work to do on this hammer trigger arrangement. I'm very happy with the hammer, but getting the mechanics to actually function is dude, it's a real thing. Come on, there we go. It's in 2 parts, right? Good. Okay. Separate. Pull these pivot screws, right? These have been machined down to be a super specific length, and they also they meet in the middle, literally to a very, very tiny degree, so that I can torque them without over torquing the main hinge of the pivot. Okay, so now we have the gun in 2 parts. I'm going to start pulling apart. Okay, so the hammer goes there. Let's put that there. Got to give myself enough room. Well. I forgot to record on that camera. My apologies. Okay, so I pulled out, yeah. I haven't pulled this thing apart in a month. In a month? No, in 3 weeks. I left town 3 weeks ago, right after, no, it may have been actually a month. Blasphemy! A Phillips screwdriver? Well, that's not canon. I don't really care. There we go. There's the trigger pin. And there's the trigger. And I'm going to leave that arm attached to the trigger. And there is the back frame. And it's totally stripped. Excellent. On to the cylinder et al. So yeah, I'm going to have to put some Loctite back in this pivot screw. I kind of made my own shoulder screw for the cylinder. So I've got the cylinder, I've got the cylinder washer, and I've got the cylinder pivot. There are a lot of parts on this thing, man. This is a... Okay, so the right side is always the longer screw on this barrel cradle. I'll put that there so I know where they are. And here is the laser sight. Awesome. I can pull these 2 screwdrivers because they are simply cosmetic. Yes. Actually, before I put this back together, I think I have a couple more screws to add that are part of the aesthetics that I have not yet put in. Right. And then I have these two tiny little set screws in here for holding in these aesthetic pieces. There's one of those, and I'm going to actually include the set screws because I'm taking this thing all the way to every little nut and bolt. By the way, I've become addicted and love taking this thing apart as many times as is necessary. It is a deeply satisfying practice, and every time it goes back together, I get the same kind of endorphin rush. And I apologize for telling you folks I was going to let you know how the release mechanism works, and then I'm aware that I never did. So I will show you in some nice close-ups exactly how the release mechanism works, because it's a nice little, it's a neat little thing. Right, these back two are actually hidden by the top sight because you don't see them in the final gun. I have really made sure that there is not a single bolt that I use that's not extant on the real one, but it has meant that I've had to hide some of the bolts. There's a lot of cleanup to do on this. It's gotten real dirty over the past month that I've been handing it around. I made some castings of some of the parts. That'll come up later. If there's a practice more satisfying than this, taking your stuff apart, putting it back together, knolling all the tools and the toys that it takes to put it together, and then putting it back together, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I love doing this so freaking much. There we go. There's that. And there's this. And yeah, there we go. Here is the Samaritan in all of its disassembled glory. It is, let's see here. '86 separate parts. That's what I count off the top of my head. It's a lot of, like, every one of these pieces, every piece here, I spent some time with it. So I'm going to get some close-ups of this and some flyovers and stuff for you to enjoy. And then I am going to clean up the parts and start putting them back together. Okay, both cameras are rolling. Let's start getting this guy back together. A lot of these parts are really dirty, so I'm going to be kind of moving through and wire brushing them and getting all the little bits of dirt out of there and then reassembling A lot of the final polishes being done by a 000 steel wool, one of my favorite materials. Oh, right. I want a little bit of acetone on some of these things just to get them a little extra clean. When I chemically blacken this thing, I'm definitely going to need to do a kind of an acid etch clean on a bunch of these parts and pieces because, yeah, there's going to be a lot to clean. And I want to make sure I'm starting with a pristine surface for the acid etch. If I have hand oils all over it, it's just going to transfer and make all the color blotchy. I don't want that. You don't want that. It's nice to have my hands on this thing all in parts again, you know? I just did a tool tip about punches, and man, I'll bet gunsmiths, I'm sure you'll nod your head when I say this. I'm wagering that gunsmiths the world over have like no end of little punches to work with because they're constantly needing to. Oh, the mechanics of this are so going to kick my ass. Oh my God. Kind of debating, do I do the mechanics first or the blackening? And frankly, I think I do the blackening. I think I got to get it aesthetically all the way there. And then I can start to worry about how to do all these linkages. And the difference between my gun and the hero guns is that the back half of the hero guns, this piece is 2 halves. And I suppose I could separate these, but I don't want to use any kerf to do that. I'm going to lose some material separating them. So them doing it in 2 halves allowed them to solve some problems that I can't solve. Yeah, it's just, stuff to pay attention to. If I was using any more acetone than just a little bit on a few of these parts, I'd totally be wearing gloves. I just, for this small amount of exposure, I'm not that concerned. Hey, that's what I was looking for. See that? That came out of the end of this. I didn't need that sitting up there. Now that part is clean. Okay. I think I am clean, and it's time to get this guy back together. Am I right about that? Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. I think it's time to assemble. So that's not those. That's those, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay. You're clean. Are you clean? Oh, no, you're not clean. This is the most complicated part. Actually, both the barrel part and the... Oh, when did you get scratched? Both the barrel part and the back part of the gun are crazy complex in all sorts of different ways that I have not had to deal with before. This is a little access panel that's not in the original gun. Well, actually, there is definitely space here in the original gun. I decided to make a little panel that I cover over that can help hide some of the wiring access that I need for the laser pointer that comes through here and comes out through this little port on the pivot. We can put in the front sight. Yes, we can. And like a lot of the hidden screws, the front sight gets some Phillips on the underside. I didn't see any reason to make my job that much harder by having to do all slotted screws across the whole thing. The visual weight of them all being, look, every screw I can see is slotted. No, it's fine with me if some of the ones I can't see are not. When you have more than one screw going into a thing, my recommendation is always get everything loosely fit and then tighten it all the way down. Don't tighten one down and then the other two. You're going to go nuts that way. As I like to say, that way lies madness. When you're putting together mechanical things, it's really important that they're always as clean as the first time you put it together, because that cleanliness bears on how they all fit together. Okay. So this is the part that catches the back of the frame. This is the part that lands here in the back of the frame. And the real trick here is, yeah. The real trick here is these two little plates actually catch the pin that catches. I'll shoot a better close-up of it later so you can see it. Okay, wait. Did I screw up? I did. I boned it. There's so many little details that you have to get in order, and I always forget this. I can't put in the top sight until I put in these aesthetic pieces here. So I'm going to pull this back out. I really like the feel of these gunsmith screwdrivers. They have a positivity to the way they grab and the way they seat screws that feels great. The washer that sits between the cylinder and the body has been machined to a very, very close fit. I think I may actually end up building a Samaritan clamp. Okay, I'm gonna use the biggest gunsmith screwdriver here. That's it. Oh, that is nice. I love this tolerance here. It's very, like maybe a fingernail's width between the barrel and the body, and it spins really nicely. I still have these plates to put in the sides. I think I'm going to have to get a little bit of a file. I've got this little pin in there that helps hold everything in orientation on these side catch plates. And it sits a little proud when I first assemble the gun and needs to be told what its place is. This part that I'm putting in here, I'm actually screwed up. I machined past a point I shouldn't have, and I had to make an extra little part that sat in here. And that's the thing, is like, when you're doing these big pieces that have to perform all these different functions, it becomes quite a thing to make sure that everything's in the orientation that you intended. Right. Okay. So here is my clicker mechanism. So that's the only, this is how I get my click. The magnet goes in here. Yep. This hammer placement's all temporary. These aren't the final resting places. These aren't the final parts for the hammer, but this does keep it close to where I want it. So I've got the main hammer pin split into two separate pieces. That's the issue I'm having here, is it's in two pieces, and it needs to be in order for me to get the hammer in, because, come on, because I can't split the back frame. There we go. That's what I was looking for. What I think I may have to do is actually build the mechanics outside the gun, with the understanding that I install them in the gun when I'm ready. It's amazing to me how much one can install a pin into a hole and remove the pin into that from the hole and still not widen the hole. I know gunsmiths, you guys deal with this all, you folks deal with this all the time, but I do not. And so, you know, when I get a super nice close tolerance fit with a pressured pin and its hole, I feel like I'm destroying something every time I dismantle it, but I'm not, it turns out. Oh, right, and now I can do the final tighten on this guy. I can't believe how thin I had to make it and how much I had to hog out around it to accommodate the trigger pin, because in order for the trigger to have the proper mechanical advantage to activate the gun mechanics, the trigger pin has to sit real high on this back frame. Higher than they put it on the replicas, by the way. Okay, so now I can put this back plate in. And now it's going to sit nice and tight. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Did I just do that upside down? I did. It goes like this. That's the way it goes. Yes. Everything's all flush now. That's great. Once again, every time I take this apart and put it back together, I'm like, it's like a little bit of an endorphin rush. It's a little bit of a, I can't believe it worked. I can't believe it still works. I can't believe it continues to work. Holy hell, it's still working. I also have to tell you, I am now regularly enjoying the pleasure of handing this piece, even in its mid-construction, to friends who come by, and get to see that expression on everyone's face. It's that same expression when I hand them a Blade Runner blaster. They're just like, oh, oh. Yeah, that's really neat. And this is still way cleaner than the finished result is going to be. I'm going to beat the hell out of this thing. I'm going to hit it with small hammers and all sorts of stuff to get it to weather correctly. See there? That little lever moves the two angled slots on this pin, and they in turn receive that guy. You'll get to see it in a second because I think I only have a few more screws to put on. Let's put the handle on and I'll do the main joint as the last bit. Oh, right, I painted the handle a little bit. Oh, that sound, right? That sound. One goes into the grip frame, the other goes into the wood, and then the main holder is this piece, which, by the way, everything about this piece was made from scratch. The ring and the plug, and yeah, I love this little piece. So this goes into the base and gets screwed in, and then it gets screwed down nice and tight. So I've got a helicoil in the grip frame, so I can really torsion it nicely. And then, how did I lose there it is. So, wait. That guy, and again, every screw, it's like I'm not over torquing it, it's just enough. I'm just gonna get a little bit of grease here, and a little bit of grease here. Not too much, just enough to let it move around a bit. The sounds this thing makes when it's operating correctly are just the best. Huh. Oh, maybe I need. Okay. I'm just going to get the tiniest bit of 3-in-1 oil just down between the cylinder and its shaft. Yeah, so I'm just yeah, there we go. That took care of that. Nice. Now I only have the rattle that I want. There you have it. Yeah. Deeply. Monsieur et mademoiselle, je vous présente Samaritan. I don't know, I'm inspired by Frenchie. One of the boys. I just thought you would want to watch a full teardown and rebuild, a full teardown, cleaning, and rebuild of the Samaritan. I had fun. I hope you did too. Thank you guys for joining me for this quickie one-day build, quickie-ish. I will see you next time. There's plenty more Samaritan content to come. I promised you that I would show you how the mechanism works for closing it, and I'm sorry that I neglected to do that last time. I am doing it now. Here we go. Oh, right. In order to do this, I have to. So, here is the mechanism. It has several parts. One part is the lever arm, which pivots here off this slotted screw, and it's got a little spring there that holds it in. So when this lever pin moves, it pulls this pin out, and that allows the frame to move. So how does it catch? Well, there's this aluminum machined part, this part, that slides over the pin here. And then there are these two catch plates, one on either side. You see it's being held by the slotted screw, and it's being oriented by a little bit of spring steel here, a little spring pin. Those two catch plates feed into these two notches. You see these two notches? See how they're... Yeah. So those two notches are how this thing closes. And the reason I didn't film this was because, man, it just took me so many tries to get that nice. And I have to tell you, that was non-trivial. But the fact that it does that with very little persuasion makes me so happy. All of these orientations were necessary. Having a little bit of extra clearance below. Yeah. I just got into this flow state with adjusting it where I really kind of finally understood it. And that's why you didn't end up getting to see the finished result. But you can see how it goes in here. And when it does, ooh, wah. It's okay. It's simply weathering. Yeah, I am very happy with how this is going. I still have to fix this little dent here. That is an artifact of some machining that I did, and the mill's quill actually got a little farther than I thought it could, and it ground into the edge of the barrel, so I have to fill that with a little JB weld. The butt plate looks great. So next thing is blackening it, and then the mechanics. Oh, yeah, and I still have to rifle the barrel.